you could wake up tomorrow morning on your own land. 40 acres of it. Trees, maybe a creek, a porch to drink your coffee on, and nobody in sight. And you could own the whole thing for less than the price of a decent used truck. That is not a scam, and it is not a typo. Right now, today, there are real houses in this country sitting on real acreage, listed for about what your neighbor just paid for his car. But every single one of them comes with a catch. Some you can live with, one or two you absolutely cannot. So before you sell everything and load the truck, let me walk you through what is really out there and what the person selling it would rather you did not ask about. Before we start, we need rules. Because the internet is full of these videos with fake prices and land that turns out to be a swamp you cannot even walk on. That is not what we are doing here. Every property on this list has to pass 3 tests. If it fails even one, it is off the list. Test 1. It has to be a real livable home, not raw land, not a foundation and a dream. There has to be an actual structure you could sleep in tonight, even if it needs work in the morning. Test 2. It has to come with real acreage. We are not talking about a quarter-acre lot in a dead subdivision. We mean land you can walk for 10 minutes and still be standing on your own property. Test 3. The price has to land in the used car range, roughly $10,000 to $45,000. If you could not buy it for what a sensible car costs, it does not make the cut. And then there is the 4th thing, which is not a test. It is a promise. Every place here comes with one honest catch, and I'm going to say it out loud every time. Because you deserve to know the whole story before you fall in love. One quick thing before we go. I am a scout, not your lawyer or your banker. Prices change, listings sell, and you should always walk the property and check the paperwork yourself before you spend a dime. This is a starting map, not financial advice. Now, let us go find you some land. Number 15. We start deep in the hills of eastern Kentucky, in coal country. Picture a small white frame house tucked into a green Appalachian holler, with about 22 acres of hardwood forest climbing up the ridge behind it. A little creek running along the bottom. Bird song so loud in the morning, it will wake you up before your alarm does. The number on this one is around $39,000. For a house and 22 acres. You read that right. That is less than a lot of people finance for a mid-size SUV. And the property taxes on a little mountain place like this run only a few $100s a year. So once you own it, holding on to it costs almost nothing. So what is the catch? There are 2, and they are serious. First, a lot of this land sits in a flood zone. And in 2022, these Kentucky hills saw some of the worst flooding in the state's history, with homes washed clean off their foundations. So you pull the flood maps before you sign anything, and you ask what the flood insurance would cost. Second, the coal jobs that built these towns are mostly gone, and they are not coming back. That is why the price is what it is. You are not just buying a house. You are buying into a place that is still writing its next chapter. But if you have got your own income and you want quiet and green and cheap, this is where it starts. And believe me, it gets stranger from here. Number 14. Now roll south and west into the Mississippi Delta, some of the flattest, richest farmland on the whole continent. This is where the cheapest homes in America tend to hide, out past the water towers and the endless rows of cotton. Here you can find a modest house with around 15 acres for something like $29,000. 15 acres of some of the best soil in the country and a roof over your head for less than the sticker on a base model pickup. And your yearly tax bill on it is likely small enough that it will not change how you sleep at night. The catch is honest, and it is heavy. These Delta towns were built on cotton and farm labor, and when the machines took over the fields, the jobs left with them. A lot of these communities have been losing people for decades. The house itself will most likely need real work too. Roof, wiring, plumbing, the kind of repairs that stack up fast. And the Mississippi summers do not play around. Heat and humidity that sit on you like a wet blanket from June clear through September. So, this one is for the person who wants land to grow on and does not need a job waiting down the road. If that is you, the dirt here is honestly some of the best you will ever sink a shovel into. But what if you want mountains instead of flat land? Number 13. Then you have got southern West Virginia, McDowell County, and the counties around it. This is some of the most dramatic scenery in the eastern half of the country. Steep, folded mountains, endless forest, and mist hanging low over the valleys at first light. Out here, a house with 30 acres can list for around $42,000. 30 acres of your own private mountainside. The taxes stay low, often just a few hundred a year, because property values across the county have fallen so far. The catch comes in two parts. One, this was coal's beating heart, and when coal collapsed, McDowell became one of the fastest shrinking counties in America. Services are thin. The nearest real grocery store might be a long drive down a curvy mountain road. 2. And this is the sneaky one that trips up newcomers. On a lot of Appalachian property, the mineral rights were sold off 100 years ago. That means somebody else may own what sits under your land, and in some cases, they hold the legal right to come and get it. So you ask, in writing, whether the mineral rights convey with the sale. The West Virginia mountains will take your breath clean away. Just make sure you know who owns the ground beneath them. And speaking of things hiding underground, wait until you hear the next one. Number 12. Head into the Arkansas Ozarks and the whole game changes. Because down here, a lot of sellers offer something you rarely see anywhere else. Owner financing. No bank involved. You pay the person who owns the land a little every month and skip the whole mortgage circus. You can find a small cabin on around 20 acres of Ozark hardwood for something like $35,000. And sometimes you can get started with just a few thousand down. The annual taxes on a rural parcel like that are usually modest, a few $100s. So the ongoing cost is easy on a fixed income. Here is the catch, and it is the one people always forget to ask about until it is too late. Water. A lot of these cheap Ozark parcels do not have a well. That means you are either hauling water in, catching rainwater off the roof, or paying to drill your own. And a new well can cost you more than a good chunk of the land itself. The access can be rough too. Dirt roads that turn to soup the second it rains, and grades that will test whatever you are driving. But if you are the kind of person who is fine being a little off-grid, who likes the idea of solving problems with your own two hands, the Ozarks are calling your name. Owner financing means you do not need perfect credit. You just need grit. And you are going to need it for this next state too. Number 11. Southeastern Oklahoma, down in the Ouachita and Kiamichi country, is one of the most underrated pockets of cheap land in the entire country. Pine-covered mountains, clear lakes, and a house with close to 28 acres for around $45,000. Property taxes in Oklahoma are among the gentler ones in the country. So a place like this might cost you only a few hundred a year to hold. Real quick, before the catch, if you are enjoying this, if you are the kind of person who wants the honest version instead of the hyped up one, do me a favor and tap that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach other folks who are dreaming about the same thing you are. That is all. Now, back to the land. Here is the catch. This is Tornado Alley's back porch. Spring storms out here mean business, and that shows up in your insurance and your wind coverage, which can run higher than you would expect for a place this cheap. You will also be a solid drive from a hospital or a big box store. But the beauty out here is real, and the land per dollar is honestly some of the best on this whole list. For a self-reliant soul who respects the weather and keeps an eye on the sky, Southeast Oklahoma is a quiet gem. The next place, though, is quiet for a much sadder reason. Number 10. Out on the high plains of western Kansas, there are whole towns that are slowly emptying out. The young people left for the cities years ago. The grain elevator still stands tall over the wheat fields, but half the storefronts on Main Street are dark now. And that is exactly why you can find a solid house on around 40 acres out here for something like $32,000. Big sky. Land flat enough that you can watch tomorrow's weather roll in for an hour before it arrives. The taxes are low, and some of these towns will practically pay you to show up. The catch is the same thing that made it so cheap. This is a shrinking town. There may be almost no jobs, the school might be an hour's bus ride each way, and the wind out here never, ever stops blowing. Some plains towns have even offered free building lots just to get young families to move in, which tells you exactly how badly they need people. So you have to be honest with yourself about this one. Can you build your own life out here, mostly on your own terms, with your own hands? Because the town is not going to build it for you. But if you want space, real space, 40 acres under an enormous prairie sky for the price of a used sedan. This is one of the last frontiers still standing open. Now, let us go get you some snow. Number 9. Way up in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, wedged between two of the Great Lakes, you will find deep northern forest, waterfalls tumbling out of the rock, and some of the last true wilderness left east of the Rockies. A hunting-style log cabin on around 40 acres up here can list for about $44,000. Your own private slice of the North Woods with property taxes that stay reasonable once the homestead exemption kicks in. The catch is written in snow. Parts of the Upper Peninsula get well over 200 inches of it in a single winter. That is not a typo. Winter up here is long, it is dark, and it is isolating in a way that is hard to imagine until you have lived it. Heating that cabin will be a real line item in your budget, and the nearest town might be a serious drive on a road that gets plowed if you are lucky. But for the right person, this place is paradise. If you hunt, if you fish, if you love the quiet and you do not mind trading noisy neighbors for a pack of wolves, you will hear far more often than you see. The North Woods will hand you a kind of peace that money usually cannot buy. Now, if snow is not your thing, the next one is the exact opposite. And it might just be the best deal on this entire list. Number 8. Here it is. The one that makes people rub their eyes and look at the screen again. The high desert of New Mexico, all mesas and open range, and a sky that goes on forever. New Mexico has the lowest average farm and ranch land value in the entire country. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's 2025 numbers, land here averages about $725 an acre. The national average is over $4,300, so the math out here bends in your favor like it does nowhere else in America. Which is how you end up with a small adobe or a manufactured home on around 40 acres for something like $30,000. 40 acres. Mesas on the horizon. Sunsets that look faked in the photos and somehow even better in person. And the property taxes in New Mexico are some of the lowest in the nation, often just a couple $100s a year. But this is the biggest catch on the whole list, so lean in and listen close. Water. Out here, water is everything, and a great many of these parcels have no well and no legal water rights. In the West, water is its own separate kind of property, and you cannot just assume you can drill down and pump whatever you find. You could own 40 acres free and clear and still have to haul in every single drop you drink. You will also be remote. Genuinely, seriously remote. Miles of dirt road between you and pavement, no city services, and a cell signal that comes and goes with the wind. So this one is a dream and a warning riding in the same breath. The cheapest land in America is cheap for a reason. And out here, the reason is almost always water. Solve the water, and you have got yourself a kingdom. Ignore it, and you have got a very expensive campsite. Take a breath. We are past the halfway mark. And the next one comes with a problem you can actually see and fix. Number 7. Down in rural Alabama, the pace slows way down, and the prices stay friendly. Rolling green country dotted with big shade oaks, long growing seasons, and a real southern welcome from the neighbors you do have. A farmhouse with around 18 acres out here can run about $38,000, and Alabama has some of the lowest property taxes in the entire country. So holding it will barely register on your budget. The catch on this style of property is one word that scares off a lot of buyers, and it should not scare you off completely: septic. Many cheap rural homes have an old or failed septic system, or the soil never passed what is called a perquest, which decides whether the ground can even handle a septic field in the first place. If that is the situation, you are looking at a repair bill before you can really settle in. And here is why that is actually good news for you. A failed septic scares the crowd away, which keeps the price down where you can reach it. And unlike a dying town or a Western water rights nightmare, a septic problem is a fixable problem. It is a number on a contractor's quote, not a life sentence. So you get the price knocked down by a catch you can solve with a checkbook and a weekend of patience. That is the kind of deal a smart, unhurried buyer loves. The next one, though, hides its catch a little better. Number 6. Cross back up into the Missouri Ozarks, and you get spring-fed rivers, tall limestone bluffs, and cabins tucked back into the trees. It is the kind of place that looks like a screensaver and prices like a clearance rack. A cabin on around 25 acres here, very often owner-financed, can list right around $40,000 with the low rural taxes you would expect this far from a city. Now the catch, and it is a two-parter. First, this is karst country, which is a fancy way of saying limestone underground, which means the occasional sinkhole and groundwater that can drain away faster than you would like. Second, and this is the one that quietly traps people, legal access. Some of these back 40 parcels are landlocked, meaning there is no guaranteed public road to your own front door. Only a handshake path that runs across a neighbor's field. So before you fall head over heels for that river view, you ask one blunt, boring question: is there deeded, legal road access to this property? If the answer comes back fuzzy or vague, you walk away, no matter how pretty the pictures are. But get a clear written yes, and you have got yourself a slice of the Ozarks that people pay 10 times as much for just one state over. Now let us talk about a place that actually pays you back at tax time. Number 5. Out on the wide grasslands of South Dakota, you get something that matters a whole lot to folks living on a fixed income. There is no state income tax. South Dakota is one of just 9 states in the entire country that has none at all. A farmhouse on around 35 acres out here, with an old windmill turning in the yard, can list near $33,000. The catch is the climate and the quiet. Winters here can drop to 40 below zero. The wind has had nothing to slow it down for 1,000 miles. And some of these prairie towns are shrinking right along with the ones back in Kansas. You will drive a good long way for anything fancy. But think about what that no-income tax line really means. If you live on Social Security, a pension, or your savings, keeping every dollar of that money instead of handing a slice of it to the state can quietly reshape your whole retirement. Cheap land, no income tax, and a night sky so full of stars with zero light pollution that the first time you see it, you will just stand there in the cold and stare. Just buy yourself a very, very good coat. And speaking of no income tax, this next state has the exact same perk, with a catch that surprises almost everybody. Number 4. West Texas and the Panhandle. Everything really is bigger out here, and that includes the acreage you can afford, mesquite brush, and open range as far as the eye can see. And yes, Texas is another one of those 9 states with no state income tax. A house on around 40 acres out here can list near $45,000. But here is the catch that catches almost everyone. No income tax does not mean no taxes. Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the entire country. So the money the state does not take out of your paycheck, it may quietly take right back through your land every single year. So you run those property tax numbers before you celebrate, because on a big parcel, they add up in a hurry. And there is a second catch out here. A lot of this region drinks from the Ogallala Aquifer, and that underground water table has been dropping for years. Out here, a reliable deep well is worth more than the house sitting on top of it. So West Texas can be a genuine bargain, and a beautiful one. It just asks you to read the fine print, do the property tax math with a clear head, and confirm that well is good and deep. Do all 3, and you get more sky than you will ever know what to do with. Now we go about as far from Texas as this country reaches. Number 3. Way up in northern Maine, past where the highways really bother to run, there is a wilderness of lakes and forest that stretches on for millions of acres. This is about as deep into the woods as you can get in the eastern United States and still buy an actual house. A cabin on around 30 acres up here, with a still lake out front and fall colors on the ridgeline, can list near $42,000. The catch is the isolation, and it is a big one. Much of this region is what Maine calls unorganized territory, which means there may be no town government, no snow plowing, and no local services at all. In winter, you are genuinely on your own out there. If the road does not get maintained, it does not get maintained. Congratulations, you are the road crew now. But for someone who has spent their whole life just wishing the world would quiet down for a minute, this is the answer to that wish. Loons calling across the lake at dusk. Northern lights rippling green in a clear October sky. Air so clean and so cold, it almost hurts to breathe it in. If pure solitude is the dream you have been chasing, northern Maine sells it cheap. We have got 2 left. And the next one comes with a warning that has nothing to do with the land itself and everything to do with the clock. Number 2, Tennessee, the Cumberland Plateau, waterfalls, deep gorges, hardwood forest, and, you guessed it, no state income tax. Another one of the 9. A house with around 15 acres on the plateau can still be found near $46,000, right at the very top of our range. And here is the catch, which is different from every other one on this list. There is nothing wrong with the land. The catch is that everybody else already figured this out. Tennessee is one of the fastest growing states in the whole country, and the plateau is getting bought up fast. Prices that were almost a joke 5 years ago are climbing hard now. The steep, wooded hollows keep some of it cheap for a little while longer, but this window is closing right in front of us. So this one is not a warning about a flood zone or a bad well or a dying town. It is a warning about time. The honest, gettable Tennessee deal exists right now, today. It may not exist in the same shape for very much longer. Which brings us, at last, to number 1, and number 1 is not really for sale at all. Number 1. For our last one, I want you to forget the price tags for just a second, because the most beautiful piece of land I can possibly show you cannot be bought at any price. And here is the twist. You already own a share of it. Right now, spread across this country, there are hundreds of millions of acres of national forest, national grassland, and public land. Mountains, rivers, canyons, Meadows, old-growth trees older than the flag. Land that no dying coal town can empty out and no dropping aquifer can drain away. And every single acre of it belongs to you exactly as much as it belongs to anybody else. Now, you do not get to build a cabin on it. That is the catch, and it is a fair one. But you can walk it, camp on it, fish it, and fall asleep under its stars for about the price of a tank of gas. No mortgage, no property tax, no mineral rights fine print buried in the deed. No well to drill and pray over. So, while you are out there hunting for your own 40 acres, and I truly hope you find them, do not forget the acres you have had all along. The dream was never only about a deed with your name on it. It was always about a place that feels like it is yours. Some of that dream is genuinely for sale in the green hills of Kentucky and the wide deserts of New Mexico. And some of it, honestly, the best of it, was handed to you for free the day you were born in this country. So there it is. Real houses, real acreage, real prices, and every single catch spoken out loud, the way it always should be. If this earns your trust, that is the whole reason I make these. Go ahead and subscribe, because I go looking for these places so that you do not get burned by the fakes. And if you know somebody who has spent years quietly thinking the dream was out of reach for people like them, send them this. 1, it just might change how they see the next chapter of their life. Do your homework, pull the flood maps, ask about the well and the mineral rights, and never, ever buy land you have not stood on with your own 2 feet. Your 40 acres are out there. Go find them. Just remember, this is not financial or real estate advice. Prices and listings change, and you should verify every property yourself before you buy.